Algebra 3, Review 16, Part 2, starting from question number 12. Okay. Evaluate sine of arctan 2/5. So we'll pull up a different page here. Hopefully pull up the right one. Okay, yeah, number 12. We want sine given arctan 2/5. Okay, so easiest way to look at this is arctangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So both numbers are positive. So 2/5. Okay. Make sure I'm on the right track here. We're looking for theta. All right. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find your hypotenuse because we're finding the sine of this. So 5 squared plus 2 squared. You should end up with 29 because 2 squared is 4, 5 squared is 25. You're going to end up with the square root of 29. So put that guy right up there. Okay, square root of 29. Sine of this is going to be equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So you're going to end up with 2 over radical 29. You can't leave it like that. You're going to have to multiply by radical 29 over radical 29. Okay, 29 is prime. So you're going to end up with 2 radical 29 over 29 is your answer. Okay, how'd you guys do with that?
Good, I just forgot. I just plugged it in afterwards.
You end up with it like a decimal answer. Yeah, we're going to need anything that's going to get you an answer with an irrational decimal is probably got a square root or a radical in there somewhere, and you need to have that, okay? All right, not the decimal. All right, number 13, I'm guessing hopefully I don't really want to flip back and forth between the document and the question, or the document and this page. I actually want to just be able to work them out. So if you have the document pulled up, you should see it wants you to evaluate tangent squared 225. They're actually pretty nice. They didn't put it in radian mode, which is nice. Minus secant squared 225 plus cosine and negative 540 degrees. Okay, so let's start off with the 225. 225, where is that? Third quadrant. How many degrees? What's my reference angle on that? 45 degrees. Okay, so let's go ahead and get in our ratios. So we should have -1, radical 2, correct? Okay, and you keep an eye over there, Miles, just to see if he comes back. Right? I don't want to have my back turned on a wasp. Okay. Okay, all right, cool. All right, tangent. Tangent's opposite over adjacent. Because it's -1 over -1, we get 1, right? So, and then, well, just so we don't lose it. In fact, I'll just show all the steps because people have a tendency to not know. You know, that's giving me +1 squared, which is 1, right? Okay, great. All right, and honestly, because secant, that 225 puts me in the same spot, right, I'm not going to redraw that coordinate plane again because there's really no need to, right? It's going to take me to the exact same position. So we're going to say ditto, okay? Same thing. All right, secant though. Secant is reciprocal to what? Cosine. All right, reciprocal to cosine, so what we want is hypotenuse over adjacent, correct? Hypotenuse here is radical 2 over adjacent -1, right? And we want to square that, correct? All right, so that should be what? 2 over 1, which would just be 2, right? The problem that somebody's going to make is not carrying our negative all the way down here, okay? Right? We've had that situation happen before. All right, then we get into cosine negative 540 degrees, which means we're headed not counterclockwise like we normally are, but clockwise. All right, so we're going to take 540 and subtract 360 out of it. Okay, I'm not even concerned about the negative at this point because the negative is just telling me direction. What is it? 180. So it's putting me right here, right? Cosine of that, right? Well, cosine's my x-axis, correct? All right, so what does that represent on the x-axis? -1, right? So plus -1 or just -1. So we've got 1 minus 2 minus 1, right? Well, the 1's are going to cancel out, leaving me with -2 as an answer. Okay? Now, you can't, I would say that you could plug this in your graphing calculator, but you honestly can't because it doesn't have secant as a function. Okay?
Did you do inverse cosine
That's inverse is not the same as reciprocal. Okay? So no, you can't do that. 14. 14 gives you the trapezoid. I think you saw a question like this on your last test, didn't you? Nobody answers at all. 0.6, 0.7, 0.9. Okay, so what is the formula for finding the area of a trapezoid?
Base 1 plus base 2.
Base 1 plus base 2 times height divided by 2. Very good, Savannah. Let's mislead the entire video audience. No, it's not nice. All right. All right. Let's see. So we've got 0.7 plus 0.9. Okay, divided by 2. What are we missing here? We're missing height. Okay. All right. In order to get that, hopefully, like we're beginning to figure some of this stuff out by now. So we would use sine. Okay, sine 30 equals h over 0.6. 0.6 sine 30 equals height. So if I want to be exact in here, all right, that's how I would do it. And if I want to do all of this in my calculator, I would do a double set of parentheses and divide by 2, or do the entire numerator, hit enter, and then divide by 2. Okay? Let's see, 0.7, well, let's do this. 0.7 plus 0.9. Okay? Times 0.6 sine 30. I got 0.48 divided by 2. I got 0.24. Let's check and see if that's the answer. Okay. It is 0.24, but it's meters squared. Read the question. Do you guys have, you guys don't have the document pulled up. All right, this is where they're going to get you on this question. Is it says find the area of this trapezoid in square centimeters. Yeah. So now your natural inclination is to multiply by 100, right? But because it's area, I have to multiply by 100 squared. So 0.24 times 100 squared. $2,400 centimeters squared. I feel like, you know, my dad, whenever I say, that's how they get you. But that's how they get you. Okay? Trying to get you to buy the insurance. That's how they get you. Mm, that's how they get you. All right, number 15. Okay, number 15. This is another one that's handy if you had your Chromebook out to actually look at it, but you guys don't because you're bums. It would be funny if you did. But I was, yeah, but I'm not. I'm not misleading the audience. Let's see. It wants this in terms of a sine function. Okay, that's kind of part of the problem that you're going to get in here. Let's see. And one of the things we'll notice as we go through this, find out here. Pi. So let's do this. Okay, it's actually not terrible. All right, and it's going to cross there at pi over 4. Pi over 2 is here. 3 pi over 4. Okay, so let's start with the basics. C. Okay, what's my center line? 5. Okay, center line is 5. Amplitude. Let me find my guy here. My amplitude, you're taking that 10 minus 5 is 5, so our amplitude is 5. Okay. My function, what's my function supposed to be? Sine. Sine, and we'll leave space there for x. Okay. The next thing that you want is you want your period change. Okay. Right? Is it going through a period in 2 pi? No, it's only going through, it's completing a period in 180 degrees, which means how many periods is it going to go through in 360 degrees? 2. Does that make sense? Okay. Now we have to deal with our phase shift. Okay. And the phase shift on here is it's crossing going up at pi over 4. Okay, and it's to the right. So what we're going to use is x minus pi over 4. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so putting this all together, we're going to get y equals 5 plus 5 sine. Make sure I got everything in here. 2. Okay, there's my period change. Phase shift. X minus pi over 4. Does that make sense? Take it each 1 degree at a time. I think that this is probably the best I've ever done of teaching this, so that it makes sense, right? My first year of teaching it, like basically Bianca taught it because I was like, I couldn't get my head wrapped around phase shift. And once you understand, like, okay, it's really simple. You're just looking on the sine function. Where does it cross the center line going up? Okay, and on cosine phase shift, it's at what degree does it hit its maximum closest to the y-axis? Those two things will help you out the most. Okay, everything else I feel like we kind of understand. Right? Okay. 16. Number 16. All right, number 16. Log base 5 x plus 2 minus log base 5x equals log base 5, that's good news, 3. Right? We always like to see log all my bases all the way across, which means ultimately, what can I do with those logs? Drop them off at the pool, right? All right, so what does this subtraction become as I drop those logs? Huh? Division. X plus 2 divided by x equals 3. Okay? Multiply by x on both sides, so I should get x plus 2 equals 3x. Subtract x, 2 equals 2x. X equals 1. Right? Drop the logs off at the what?
Sawmill.
At the sawmill, that's right. We got all the logs together, drop them off at the sawmill. All right. Okay, number 17. We got log x plus log x plus 3. You guys know who Brian Regan is? You ever heard of Brian Regan, comedian? It's like most confusing thing in the world is going down the road and watching two log trucks pass each other. It's like, if they need logs over there, and they need logs over there, seems like a simple phone call could clear this whole thing up. Anyway. All right. Let's see. Ultimately, what you want to understand about this is that these are both in log base 10, right? Okay, so this would be the same as looking at this as log x over log 10, okay, plus log x plus 3 over log 10 equals 1, okay? So anytime I see this, ultimately what I can do is I can multiply that side by 10, right? Okay, so what I'm going to end up with is x times x plus 3 equals 10, okay? So we get x squared plus 3x equals 10, and we can see that we're dealing with a quadratic, so we're going to subtract 10. X squared plus 3x minus 10 equals 0. Factor that down, so we get x and x. We should get a plus and a minus. Things that multiply to be 10. 2 and 5. Positive 5, negative 2. Okay. Positive 5, negative 2 is going to get me that positive 3. All right, so my possible answers are negative 5 or 2. Has to be 2. It had to be 2. If Frank Sinatra had sung that math songs, maybe? No? Yeah. If Frank Sinatra hadn't made it as a singer, that's what he would have sang.
Would you still have been in the mafia?
Probably. The math mafia. It would probably be the most frustrating thing about listening to these videos is only catching the response to certain things that are said in class. Number one rule being in the math mafia is that you don't talk about being in the math mafia. So.
No, how do you know we're not therefore in the math mafia? What's that?
Number 18. Sketch the graphs of the equations y equals x minus 1 squared minus 5 and y equals negative x minus 2. Shade the regions that satisfy. What's nice about this is that your graph is going to be the answer, because you'll notice on that first one it says y is greater than x minus 1 squared minus 5. It's already in the vertex form, right? So as I'm looking at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My daughter was really upset this morning. I know this has nothing to do with this question, but it's a funny story. But because my wife dressed her because they're headed to Columbia today for one of my son's appointments, and they FaceTimed me. She was bawling. She was upset because my wife didn't put her in all the way down pants. That's what she calls shorts. She put her in shorts. She's like, no, I want all the way down pants. She's like, you're gonna be wearing shorts all summer. She's like, I don't want it to be summer. Like, what is wrong with this girl? I would wear shorts all the time, always, if it were possible. I don't want to wear all the way. I want to wear all the way down pants. Oh, thought it was funny.
You like wanted to get lifted up, and then right as you lift him up in the air, help!
Help! Help me! Help me! All right. To the right 1, down 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're about right there. Okay, that's what that should look like. Is it going to open up or down? Up. Up. Okay, should be something like that. And it says y is greater than. So are we going to ultimately end up shading inside or outside? Inside. Okay, should be inside. All right, now we have to graph this other line. So it's going to begin at -2. Okay, we're going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Okay, here. So I should see this line across, and it says y is less than or equal to. That's why I can make it a dotted line. So my shaded region is right in there. Okay, all the work is pretty much done for you. You just need to show me that graph. The vertex has to be at the right point. The y-intercept has to be at the right point. Okay, the slope has to be correct. What I will not take, and so I hope anybody who's watching this, okay, I will not take, I won't take that. Okay, that'll be wrong.
You just write the lines.
Yeah, you just drew the lines, drew a graph, drew a line, shaded it. No, I want tick marks. I want vertex in the correct spot. I want y-intercept in the right spot. I want the right slope. Right, I want it opened up the correct direction. Right, I want all of that. Okay. All right. Let's see, 19. Find the range, mean, median, mode, variance, standard deviation of the following data. I'm not going to go through all of that. It's not really necessary because your graphing calculator is going to end up doing all of that except for, I don't think it'll do mode. All right. How do you find variance? Square root or square the standard deviation. Okay. So your range was 7. Your mean, or I think what it shows up is x with a hat on top, was 9. Your median, which you're going to find down with your minimum Q3 median, all that. Median came out to 8. Mode, it won't give you mode, but that's easy enough to find, is also 8. Your standard deviation, which is going to look like that, was 2.27. And your variance, after you square 2.27, should be 5.14. So that's everything. I think you guys can do that, right? Let's see. It may not, I probably won't give you your range either. Okay, so find a range by taking your biggest number, subtracting your smallest number. Get that. Range was on there. Range was 7. Is it the end? Okay. He's saying that the n number is your range. In any case, it's not that hard to find. All right, number 20, last question. If f of x equals x times x plus 1, and let's see, it wants us to find, okay, we want f of x plus h minus f of x minus h all over 2h. Okay, so what we want to do, oh goodness. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to find f of x plus h. Then we're going to find f of x minus h. Then we're going to subtract them. Then we're going to divide by 2h. All right, let's see if I can. All right, so we're going to substitute in x plus h everywhere where I see x in f of x. Okay, so we start off here with x plus h in for this right here, times x plus h in for that x there plus 1. Okay, and then we can FOIL all of that out. What we should get out of it is, I'm just going to kind of fast forward here, x squared plus, we'll end up with 2xh's because I'm going to get x times h and h times x. So I get 2xh plus h squared plus x plus h. Okay, and that's all of that. That is f of x plus h. Okay, then we want to do f of x minus h, which is x minus h times x minus h plus 1. Okay, that's going to come out to x squared minus 2xh plus h squared, because we got two negative h's, plus x but minus h. Okay, now we're going to take all of that. We've got x squared minus x, well, we have to distribute the negative, because as we rewrite this, we're getting x squared plus 2xh plus h squared plus x plus h minus x squared minus 2xh plus h squared plus x minus h. So in order to do this, I have to distribute that negative. So I get a positive here, a negative here, a negative here, and a positive there. Okay, if I do that, and h plus x squared. I think I've got that right. All right. Oh, no, my x should be negative. All right, so my x squareds will cancel out. I've got 2xh plus 2xh, so that should be 4xh. I've got h squared minus h squared, so these guys cancel out. Let's see, I've got x minus x. Huh? Gonna?
It's negative, right? Is h squared negative on the other?
It is here. I just didn't do a very good job with it. And then I've got h plus h, so I should get plus 2h. And then I'm dividing it by 2h. All right. So because there's an h in everything, and I can factor, basically what I can do is I can factor out a 2h out of everything. So I wind up with 2x plus 1. That's my answer. Because I have to leave something in this position here as I factor that out. Of course, I'm leaving a 1 down there, but I don't need it. So that should be everything. I'm going to hit stop on this, and you guys can, I feel like